This is iRacing.
Last race showed the aggression has ramped up. With only one repeat winner so far, it's looking like the drivers will need that hard-nosed approach to get to victory lane. Let's see who's got it as we get ready for round 6 of the Skip Barber Race Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Stephen Kernick. Behind the scenes is our director, Christian Duploy, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Stephen, we've come to beautiful Virginia for our latest round, but compared to last season, we're now running the full track.
It's absolutely incredible, and considering Virginia International has such a history, it's going to be all about technical driving, it's all about momentum, and how you can sustain pressure here at Virginia International Raceway. And I can't wait to see what the Skip Barbers are going to do around the circuit.
Well, in case any of our viewers are new to the Old Dominion, let's take a quick look at our track guide. Welcome to Virginia International Raceway. Only a short trip away from the state's border with North Carolina, this track has had the rare blessing of being resurrected from the dead. After closing for a quarter century, once it was rebuilt, it quickly began to draw major sports car series to its halls. The new owners didn't skimp on refurbishing the place either. An impressive 5 versions are available on iRacing with a range between 1 and 4 miles in length between them. With that much pavement, the plethora of corners have earned some colorful nicknames. The horseshoe kicks things off right away with a never-ending double apexer that tends to suck the greedy out into its runoff. Later on, the climbing S's force you to thread the needle before spinning you out into the steep drop at South Bend. Then, of course, there's Oak Tree, which sadly no longer sees its namesake landmark on the inside of the turn, but still retains its frustrating difficulty. Let's not forget one of the scariest obstacles at the end of the lap, the roller coaster. The incredible speed drivers carry up into this blind braking zone is what causes it to require such immense bravery to get the most out of the lap. While passing can be tricky here, the long backstretch nicknamed Madison Avenue and the lengthy front stretch do tend to offer enough of a draft that you can still give a go at a pass. Still, track position is usually an important factor in most races. With the picturesque backdrop of the Appalachians around them, fans are not left wanting when they come to watch drivers face off at this historic track. It's no wonder the circuit has found success in its second chance at life. Well, we'll see from the map here, Stephen, that it's a pretty long lap around here, especially in these small cars.
And considering you got 17 turns, you're going to have to really keep the momentum up for those straightaways. Opened in 1957, we've got a 5.2 kilometer circuit, and with 17 corners, and the 17th corner is a bit of a tricky one because you got 17A and 17B that you're going to have to get right. Heading through the snake, though, that is completely flat out in these cars, but you do catch a little bit of a tail slide that the drivers will have to control up through 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way into 11 before you're going to have to back it down to second gear in those high revs. So this is going to be an exciting one. And since it's the halfway mark in the championship, there is no time to lose and all the points on the table for the drivers to go for the championship.
Exactly, and that championship is shaping up rather interestingly. As I mentioned in the intro, only one driver has managed to win more than once, and that is Adam Miles, and he's not our points leader right now. Martin is up at the top currently, having won at Portland earlier. Daniel Otuga, though, who won at Sebring, has jumped up in the points. Miles did not have a good race back at Sebring, so that kind of explains some of why he is down in third. This, of course, can change as they have 2 drop weeks, and that is helping them out somewhat at this stage. So watch out for this driver's standings. 35 points for a win. So there are a lot of drivers that are still in play. In fact, you could say all top 10 could still overtake for the top spot before today is over. We're already halfway through, but let's take a quick look at how this race is going to play out as Stephen, you take us through the race details.
So the drivers are going to be on round 6 of 12. It's 11 laps around the circuit, so it's a long time in these cars. Open setups means that you can get the ride out to what you're comfortable with one spare car in case you bin it and able to carry on going. But it's a standing start, so make sure you work on that clutch control before you launch yourself off a line, and disqualification at 17x. So, I mean, this is going to be an exciting one. But remember, these are only 4-cylinder engines, not very big, and are comparable to Formula V's. This is how you learn how to drive, and with those road tires, you're going to slip and slide around Virginia. I've got to say, been driving these cars a little bit, and honestly, around this track, it is so much fun. But coming out of that hairpin we just saw, it's so easy to drop a wheel off into the dirt and throw away your qualifying lap. And you've got so much track left before you can even restart your next qualifying lap. You've got 2 laps to get it done. Most drivers might only get 1 in by the end of qualifying.
That's a good point. So we'll have to watch out to see who runs out of time before this is over. It is worth noting as well that Skip Barber actually has some of their operations based out of VIR. Now, granted, these days, if you go there, you're not going to see these cars racing there. You're going to see the more modern F4 machines that they use for their program. But for a long time, it was these Skip Barbers that ran. Saw a lot of weaving there from Adam Miles trying to get the tires up to temperature. And it's about 79 Fahrenheit, so it looks like it's not super cold, but I think he's finding it's worth trying to get some friction on that rubber as he sends it into the horseshoe for the first time in anger.
And sliding his way around, you can hear those tires screeching, but that's exactly what you want to hear on these cars. Heading turn 2, it's a little bit of a left kink before you're braking into turn 3. Just got to feather the throttle on the way through. Don't want to venture out too far wide. I've got to say, Adam's keeping it really good together here, keeping the car in control as well. So a lot of work has been done on the setup to just make sure he can get a good lap in. But now he's got to keep his foot absolutely buried to the floor.
Indeed, it's going to be pretty much flat out all the way up here until you get to South Bend, and likely going to be pretty single file. These cars can handle it better. They're a lot smaller than GT3 machinery that races here, and quite a bit slower too. But up and over the crest of South Bend, you'll see here a big lift, and look at how blind it is as well, Stephen.
Changing down to 4th, down into 3rd, into 2nd, carry the momentum through, bring the revs down to 4,000 RPM, stand on the gas. A perfect slipstreaming opportunity is going to be from the oak tree, which is the 2 corners you saw, down this main straight. But who's going to be braver on the brakes come the race is going to be the big question, as you've got to go above the crest, really trying to figure out where you're going to go. Watch for the brake markers on the right-hand side. As you get to the 3rd, you're going to start lifting, changing it down the gears, and get yourself all organized as you work your way down the hill.
They call this the roller coaster, and the sim just does not do the sensation justice. It is a massive drop in elevation here, and it takes a lot of commitment into that final corner through Hogpen, as we do have some times on the board. Martin currently a provisional pole sitter, but will Miles be able to upset that as he gets ready to cross the line? Let's see what this lap is going to show for him, as it's well down there, and it's a 2:07.1. That is way quicker than what Martin has put in, 3.5 tenths.
Absolutely well done. But I've got to say, the drivers are not holding back. A 2:07 in these cars, maximizing as little grip as they got. They've really dialed it in, and so far to get to round 6, these drivers have worked absolutely backwards to try and get their cars to the perfect driving and to make sure that they get the gearing right. The question is, for Martin, who leads out the championship, can he take back that pole position and the advantage into turn 1? Because the last thing you want to do is be on the outside of the start-finish line into turn 1.
I think every driver managed to get across the line in time to complete their 2nd lap as well. Guardia and Ortiz, though, need that 2nd lap to be good, because both failed to set a time the first time around. If you go outside the track boundaries, it is automatically detected by the sim, and it is black and white, and it will delete the lap. So Miguel around through Hogpen here. You can see how much the car has to slide around, and then you need to carry that speed. It's quite a bit of an uphill past the lodging and past the pit lane towards the start-finish line. We could see some drivers fighting to try and take the win with a drag race to this finish line. And his second lap, a 2:07.1, does get within range, but doesn't beat Miles. Birdie actually goes quicker than Miguel onto the front row by 0.04 of a second.
This is why we love the slower cars. It's Jose who sets up a 2:06.9 with a blistering lap time and really pushing it to the edge. Now, the question is, can Miles fight back as he charges his way through? He's in third at the moment, but wants to be on that front row after carrying the success through the season as well, especially getting at least one victory. Is this going to work out for him? Needs to get a 2:06.9. Miles is absolutely gunning it, giving it all she's got up into fifth gear, all through the revs and across the line. Not in, well, he does actually, a 2:06.906, only just getting that pole position.
By barely less than a tenth. He timed it to perfection. He was the last driver, I think, to be able to cross that line in time. Talk about having confidence in your abilities. That'll put him on the pole position with Jose Mella next to him. Daniel Otuga, last race's winner, is third, and Tim Bertie will be fourth. Miguel Martin gets shuffled all the way down to fifth after being briefly on the top spot. Adri Rena will be next to him. And then you've got Philip Burke in seventh and Alejandro Rodriguez in eighth. Gordon Vonenbergen will be ninth, and Erwin Zomer rounds out your top 10.
And that being said, it is a full grid here tonight for the Skip Barber. It is going to be Ricardo Martins in 11th position with Jack David Spickett back behind the wheel. He's going to be going and fighting out Pablo Yogla along with Jesus Cabal. Diego Ortiz sitting in 15th. Raul Garda sitting in 16th. Peter Sputnik is sitting in 17th. And 18th is Xavier Sanchez, who's going to be chasing down on that 9th row.
A bit unusual to see Peter and Xavier all the way down at the bottom of this field. They'll have their work cut out for them. Just about have everybody lined up and ready to go here for the halfway point in this season. So who can step up to the plate, manage to show themselves as a major competitor? Can they beat Adam Miles, who certainly has been one of the quickest all season long? Didn't really get to show it at Sebring. Can he turn that around today here in Virginia? I think Philip Burke's going to be our last car to plop himself on the grid. He's that little opening that you see a couple rows back here at the start, which, as you can see, is not quite a front straightaway. It's more of kind of a front curve there as it leans around past the start-finish line. And now that Philip is out there, the engines start to rev as the lights come up. Holding them a long time, and there is the green flag. Miles is off to a good start, but Mella starts to gain a little bit. Birdie already getting in the line, looking for the inside. In fact, pretty much everybody is going down for that inside line immediately. Now they start to head for the outside to try to open up the horseshoe. Miles will fend off Mella as Ortuga is going to sneak underneath.
As the tires are cold, drivers fighting their way through, taking it nice and cautiously, not ramping up through the gears. But this is now helping Miles really open up the gap in pole position. Miller in a absolute battle with Ortega for second place in wheel-to-wheel sliding. This is why the Skip Barber 2000, unfortunately, contact in the back.
Philip Burke seems to have been caught out. He winds up facing the wrong way, takes a tow. He's done already in this race. Otuga up into second solidly now ahead of Mella, but the damage has been done. 1.3 seconds. Miles is loving that because the slipstream is going to be the one thing you don't want to be giving your competitors today.
When you're caught in a slipstream train like what Gal over here has got, this is going to be a bit of a tricky time. He's going to have the advantage to get past. The question is there going to be enough room to go and slot his way through? Hard on the brakes, straight through Oak Tree. There used to be the tree there. Unfortunately, it is now just a distant memory, but all the drivers getting right onto the dirt, and now it's follow the leader down the long straight as you start to climb.
and they are not catching Miles. He is not giving them a slipstream as it sits. Otuga gets a run to retake on Mella after losing that second position briefly. Birdie still holding on, and Miguel Martin in the 5th spot. They hit the roller coaster for the first time as we get some side-by-side further down in the mid-pack. Alejandro Rodriguez trying to take that Navy car up the order, but you can see how tough it is, even with these very narrow cars, to try and find space through here.
Just a roller coaster ride of note, and you've got to feather the throttle with these cars. The last thing you want to do is be hitting the brakes. As we unfortunately have one of the cars that's going to be getting a bit of repair, and that's Bergin, who's gone into the car, into the pits. That's not going to help out. Bertie also trying to get a run for second place, but stuck on the outside. Gonna be committed to the line, and just gets hit out of shape. Saves it, unfortunately, falls to 6th place.
Thought Birdie was done for, but somehow kept it out of the grass. Still, we're wheel to wheel between Mella and Otuga once again. This time, Jose manages to come out on top out of NASCAR Bend. Daniel giving watch. It's looking like they don't care too much about the fact that they have lost Miles. They're just content to squabble with one another here for best of the rest.
Well, you know what? A race is a race, and when you're in a pack, there's not much that can beat a proper wheel-to-wheel run. But this is where you got 11 laps, and you can work with your competitors to say, hey, listen, let's not chase each other. Let's rather pull each other along and try and close the distance. But that means that you've got to be able to talk to the drivers, and they've got to all go and say, right, we concede to the fight. Let's rather try and get a bit closer. It's something you don't get to see too often, but you will see a couple of drivers in the back will start to do so, especially in the Skip Barbers.
Yeah, kind of surprised that they're giving it up so early. I think if they did try and slingshot one another, they could give claw this back in. They are going to swap here coming up to the roller coaster. Otuga gets a chance to get ahead, but maybe Mella just has nothing he can say about that situation, forcing him to hold back for now. They did cut it down, it looks like maybe by about 0.2 on Miles on that run down Madison Avenue, but behind them once again, we saw this last time, mid-pack still frantic out here. Rodriguez completely off course and into the grass. He'll fall to the back of this group.
Has to now work a little bit harder. Good save though. Not often you can save it in the roller coaster. Remember, these cars have got row tires on them. They're not slicked, so they haven't got multitude of grip. And the last thing you want to do is also lose that little bit of time, as Adam tries to set the fastest lap time of the race, but it's going to be Renner who takes the fastest lap time thus far in 5th place.
Hoglar gets by Spickett down into the horseshoe. That's going to move him up into 7th. Wonder if they're also trying to catch up to that second group, now being led by Mella. That's Birdie at the back of it in the yellow that you can see. So we're starting to see 2 distinct groups form at this stage in the race. How will that evolve and change as it goes on?
Now the drivers taking a little bit more cautiously, going and working with the train. Start trying to get your gearing right. The only problem is when you're up into 5th gear, you're caught in the train, it's so easy to bring the revs too high up. Remember, these cars, you still got to use the clutch a little bit to change gears. They're sequential, but at the same time, they don't have shift protection. So if you go too fast down the gears, you lock that diff and you are in for a world of hurts. You've got to be so careful and plan your brake markers, especially when you're in a pack race like this.
German driver just waiting patiently for now. He knows that Madison Avenue has an opportunity if he times it right, and it does look like it's a good exit. Unfortunately for him, everybody in front also has a nice toe. It's really only Mella at this stage who is pushing air as everybody else is riding the coattails of the car ahead. Otuga, once again, going to move back ahead of him, but they are not making the inroads they need on Adam Miles. It's still at about 1.8 to 1.7 seconds up the road. That flash of blue and yellow, that was Miles, our leader.
Whoa! Big save, but Jackson to the wall. Lost it heading into the roller coaster. Big impact into the wall, and now needing a tow back to pits. But this is where the spare car comes in, and you can still score points. You can still get back out onto the circuit after the tow. You might be at the back of the field, but every point counts for the championship.
Another move for Jose. He'll get back ahead of Otuga once again. And yeah, I think that demonstrates another really interesting feature about this track. There's not really much in the way of any gravel pits. In fact, I don't think there is any. It's all grass, and many of it is downhill once you go off the track. So it's really hard to slow the car up.
And especially at the top there, it just tightens up on you like no tomorrow. At the bottom of the track, you have a lot of room to play with, but heading down the mountain, that's where it all tightens up and requires you just to hit your marks absolutely perfect. Unfortunately for Jack, he wasn't able to do so. But for the rest of our field that's trying to catch up to the leader, well, it's been a great on and off battle. But the question is, that second place is up to 5 cars having a go at it. Anyone has an opportunity here to go for second and third, and it's going to be a hard chase. Tim Bertie being one of those drivers who's not going to be holding back.
Still yet to hit the halfway mark as they head through South Bend once again, through the valley and back up into Oak Tree, an extremely difficult braking zone. You can see with a double apex and leading onto perhaps the most important corner exit of the entire lap on to Madison Avenue. The gap still remains at about 1.8 seconds up to Miles. He's not allowing them to catch, but he's also not running away, while Otuga will once again slingshot past the number 2 car.
Question is, how long can they keep slingshotting one another? Because Otuga and Miller have been fighting, but you can't forget Martin's also been picking up the tow as well. Ricardo trying to make his way around, unfortunately loses out a little bit of time and is holding that 10th place spot also in a battle of note, trying to make his way past drivers, but just not having the pace to go a little bit further than that. One thing about these cars, you want to spend more time on the throttle, less time on the brakes. If it's going sideways, keep on the throttle. It will straighten itself out. You just got to be patient with it. And unfortunately, natural reaction is just to lean on that brake a little bit more, and you lose precious speed and will snap out of a train in a heartbeat.
Definitely has its own idiosyncrasies as we come back to the battle for 7th. Guardia ahead of Rodriguez, ahead of Hoglar and Martinez in this 4-car train. There was definitely a little bit of smoke from some of them sending it into that first corner quite hard, which you can also get away with in this car. But as they start to exit towards the snake, it does look like Guardia is starting to break away just ever so slightly.
Just having that little bit of room, and that means that he's going to have a little bit more of a helpful hand. As we saw with Miles, if you can break that toe, you have a little bit more room to play with and let the squabbles behind you happen. But it does look like he's getting pulled right back into the fight, and Rodriguez right onto the back of him as they try and make their way through. Pablo trying everything he can to get right underneath the gearbox of the cars and see if he can start trying to slingshot his way a little bit further up from 9th and at least get himself closer to the fighting pack ahead.
Yeah, look at the distance that's between them right now, 3.2 seconds. They have even less chance of catching them compared to our second pack there, trying to gain on the leader, which are doing exactly what they've been doing since pretty much the start. Worth noting that last lap, both Otuga and Mella were about 0.2 quicker than Miles, and kind of unusual to see. We'll see if it repeats this time, because it is down to 1.4 as we once again watch Rodriguez, Guardia, and Hoglar swap positions coming down into the roller coaster.
There's also 2 ways the 2 packs are fighting it out. Take a look at our first pack. They're following nose to tail, and the moment that they are able to tow on past, they do. They're assisting each other to try and pull a little bit closer. Where our second pack, on the other hand, they're in an absolute brawl trying to get past one another. Otuga and Miller, they don't fight each other off whenever they're going for a pass. They know it's going to happen. They allow the pass to happen, getting back into the tow. The second pack, on the other hand, they're all trying to go for the same piece of tarmac. And it's just a difference in thoughts of what the race is going to be. Who can pull themselves a bit closer and who's going and fighting for position.
So last time it was a 2:06.5 for Adam Miles, continuing to get quicker, but Mella and Ortuga both were quicker. In fact, Mella nearly 0.2 faster once again. They have reeled it in that little bit more. Bit by bit, they could get there in time. They just need to get within the slipstream of that blue and yellow number one. That's going to be easier said than done, though.
They're going to have to really maximize the pace coming in and out of the corners. They've got to ensure the gearing is absolutely perfect, and also that they can avoid any squabbles amongst one another. For Miles, who's losing that little bit of gap, is just hoping that everyone just messes up their braking markers, loses out a little bit of time, lifts for whatever reason. At this point, you're going and wishing a person had an itchy foot to get their foot off the throttle and slow the train down. But take a look once again. Tuga and Miller going once again, swapping around, no fight whatsoever, no moving to center of the circuit. They know what needs to be done. They are closing that gap, and they're saving their tires for the last attack. Miles, on the other hand, has been properly sliding that car.
It's down to 1.1 seconds. They're getting very close to start feeling effect of that slipstream. I'd say if you get within about 1 second, you're going to start to be towed along as we hop on board with Rena, who is now behind Tim Birdie, who was the car at the back of this train before. You'll see a little bit of a switch around once again between second and third, as it has been on the back straight and the front straight repeatedly over the course of this race. 5 laps to go. I think they only need maybe 2 more laps of this consistent gaining before they're going to start to get reeled right into that number one car.
The question is, do you have the patience to do it? Does your competitor have the patience to do it? Well, take a look at what happened in the first lap, and Philip Buke, unfortunately, landing up in the dirt after being turned round in the center pack. Not too much damage, but definitely landing up the wrong way around. But going back to it, we've got 5 laps to go. This is where having a voice in your head saying, stay calm, focus, work with one another, let's pull a bit closer comes in. But we know we're sim racers, we're petrol heads, we want to race. But let's also see what happened in the replay for lap 2.
So something with Erwin Zomer, who goes all the way off of turn 1, eventually finds his way back. It was hard to tell from that angle if there was any contact involved, but that was a bit strange for the car to suddenly veer off the left-hand side. So I'm going to guess there was at least a little bit of a bump there. As for Philip Burke, apparently not very happy with Alejandro Rodriguez, unfortunately. Seems to be placing the blame on the 18 car for that opening lap incident. Meanwhile, Rena still giving chase. Here's Zomer, and definite touch. That was the 17 of Diego Ortiz making contact with the gearbox.
Just going and doing an oil check during the race. Not quite what you want to have, but it does happen. If this was a Formula V, you could knock it out of gear, but the Skip Barbers with the sequential gearbox is all about keeping it going and don't have the actual shifter on the outside. Question is, now we take a look at Pablo Rodriguez, who's trying to make up a bit of ground, but has been stuck playing piggy in the middle for a little bit, and is also losing a little bit of time, just not finding any room, and also losing the slipstream every which way possible as he keeps an eye on the drivers ahead, trying to spot, does he go inside, does he go outside, lifts a little bit early and loses that time. It's all about who's going to be first on the anchors and who can be first on the power. As we do take a look, Ricardo going and getting a good pass, gains a bit of run. Pablo, on the other hand, has been left to the back of the train and losing time every which way possible.
Yeah, these larger tracks definitely make it difficult to hold on to your position throughout, as drivers will get those huge runs. You've already seen it many a time. This lap, it looks like it's back up to about 1.4 seconds between this front group and Adam Miles. He was just a little bit quicker that last time by. So we check back in once again with Martinez, Rodriguez, Guardia, and Hoglar. Currently, Ricardo Martinez, the leader of this group.
Take a look at the difference down the straight, opening up to 4 cars where our front pack was keeping in a single train. This is the difference of racing for position and trying to work with your competitors. And that is what these cars teach you. You've got to think about strategic racing, and it's why it was a birthplace for future champions in Formula Racing before we hit the Formula 4s that are current and well-known.
Really does test you. We're going to go side by side between Raul and Alejandro. Raul's got his nose ahead. He's also got the inside on the kink into the roller coaster, so that will put him up into 7th now as Alejandro gives way. Ricardo Martinez behind, very close, and he's bringing Hoglar with him. Is this a breakaway for Raul in that green number 7, or is the 18 of Rodriguez going to pull him right back in as they come up the main straight? We look up ahead. Another pass for second. We're down to 3 laps to go. They're still at 1.1 seconds back. It's still possible to catch as a bit of smoke comes off of Mella. He is taking that car to the absolute limit.
Going and locking it up, losing that little bit of time. And as he does so, he slows the train down a little bit more. The question is, will the drivers now start to think, are we going to go for first, or are we now going to maximize our main positions? And you've got to take that gambit of whether it's going to be possible to keep working, or is it time to hold on to 2nd and 3rd, or try get onto the podium. I've got to say to Bertie, though, down in 5th place, still remains with the fastest lap of the race, despite being a little bit out of the toe.
Yeah, Bertie obviously has had the advantage of being able to kind of back off and charge forward. I don't believe there's a bonus point for the fastest lap, so it doesn't do much other than give yourself a little bit of an ego boost. Yeah, bragging rights, exactly. Now, this, I think, is going to be important. If they are not under a second by the end of this lap, I do not think they're going to catch Adam Miles, because it's gone back up to 1.4. Daniel's going to give it another go once again. Look at that, over 185 kilometers per hour. That's up to 117, 120 miles an hour here that these cars do get up to. So they get some speed, but it's still only down to about 1.2 seconds. Is a big moment for Jose. He has to catch the car, and that gives Daniel a bit more breathing room than we've seen before.
And now Martin is going to realize the pressure is on, and 3rd place is within striking distance. As Daniel's got a little bit more runaway, he can hold on to 2nd for just a little bit longer. Will the rest of the train play the same game, or is it now time to pull the trigger? Daniel goes to the outside, but take a look at Miller right up on the rear wheel, and contact between the two.
Oh, and they're going to have a secondary contact to go back across the course. All 3 scatter and manage to avoid. Birdie moves from 5th up to 2nd, but will he hold it as Martin has got the inside? Now in a NASCAR bend, Rena watching from behind them. Off the corner, it looks like Martin has the advantage. Coming into the left hook, indeed, he has 2nd place. You can write off the hopes for the win from here. Miles now 3 seconds ahead after that incident.
From a working duo that had a truce, unfortunately, they binned it all, and now it's open season for 2nd and 3rd. The 3 drivers that have been waiting the longest, that have not been swapping positions, have got 2 laps to go and find out who's got the pace. The question is, do you want to be leading the train as you make your way through Oak Tree Corner, or do you want to be the person sitting in the middle of this train? Oh, big mistake for Birdie, and back down the train he goes.
That's going to put him at the back of it. Does that create an advantage for him a little bit later, as he could sit and let that play out in front of him? Little bit of contact, as I wonder if some of that was because there was that slip up from Mella, and that put him a little farther behind. Before, it was timed almost to perfection every time of being able to just reach and pass the car. This time, though, he had to get aggressive on the braking. Meanwhile, that's not the only group that's seen the action start to increase. Guardia to the inside of Rodriguez, coming down into the roller coaster, and they got another friend with them now, that Daniel Otuga has been sent to this secondary group, and he's trying to make his way forward to make up for the loss of time. White flag is now out for Miles. We have 1 lap to go.
It's all about who's got to drive that little bit more. Daniel Tuga's got some damage to his car after the clip there, and it's got a lot of hard work. The question is now for Tim Birdie, who gaining a little bit of time around the outside. We've seen him good on the brakes, but can he keep it all together through turn one? Thrown a little bit too far out as we got picture in picture of all the battles. Rodriguez trying to keep it all together. We have got a race of note on the final lap for the Skip Barber Race Series here at VIR.
Birdie moves himself back into third overall, second in the group. Is that where he wants to be? Or is this going to hand the advantage to Rena? That's wide. And a way too wide car, almost out of control. Can Birdie keep up? If he loses the slipstream, that is it. And it'll be a 1v1 to try and decide second place.
This is going to be a race of note, but it's all over the show. Pablo Rodriguez also looking to pull the pin and gain a position. Look to the outside, look to the inside. No room to go as they snake their way up. It is flat out. You're going to do a little bit of a lift, but maybe just half throttle to keep you going and not too far out. Oak Tree is going to be a hard braking zone to get it all right. The question is, who's going to be braver and who's going to have the toe as Rodriguez holds the inside line. He fouls up his exit though, and this is going to compromise him down the straight.
That opens things up tremendously. Suddenly, it's no longer a straightforward fight between them. I can tell you that Arena is catching Martin and going to be passing on the backstretch. There you see it now. Birdie too far behind because of that mistake earlier. Catches, though, in the braking as they're looking at 3 wide behind them to try and decide that 5th spot. And as they come down into the corner, is it all going to go to Potts? No, it is. Unfortunately, a car going around. I thought at first, no, they somehow caught it. Meanwhile, the battle for second. Rena has the advantage ahead of them all. Adam Miles is going to run away with his 3rd win of the season, this time at VIR for second place. Which one is it going to be? Right at the line as they cross. And it looks like Rena gets it by 0.003 of a second.
Martin taking 3rd. Birdie was on the grass to try let it happen. But Rodriguez taking that 5th place. Guardia in 6th. Yogla sits in 7th. Daniel Tuga with that damage got 8th. Martinez got 9th. 10th is Sanchez. We saw a fight. This is what we love to see. A circuit that challenges you, that brings the best racing in one of the best Formula categories that's here on the iRacing service. If it's not a classic, it's got to be a Skippy.
Well, looks like Philip Burke will be the last to see that checkered flag. Unfortunately, he did get back out there. Must have had too much damage to be able to drive it back after that initial incident, but was able to hop into his spare car and pick it back up and actually still finish on the lead lap as well, which is kind of impressive. But shows you how long it is to get around this circuit. He's going to be frustrated as he lost 10 spots from where he started on the grid. And based on what we saw up at the front, there definitely could have been more on hand if he didn't get tangled up there early on. So with that, 17 finishers out of our 18 starters. Not too shabby, but Adam Miles will take another win over Adri Rena, and Miguel Martin finishing in 3rd. Tim Birdie was P4, followed by Alejandro Rodriguez in 5th. Raul Guardia was P6 today. Pablo Hoglar, 7th. Daniel Otuga in the hunt for 2nd all race long, had to settle for P8. Ricardo Martinez was 9th, and Xavier Sanchez rounds out your top 10.
Being said, there was more than that. We had Peter finishing up in 11th place. We had Jose in 12th, Diego Ortiz in 13th, followed by Jesus Cabal, Erwin Zuma, along with Gordon van der Bergen, Philip Buke rounding out, and I take my hat off for him to see it through to the end with that spare car. Unfortunately, one retirement, Jack David Spickett, who nailed it into the wall at the top of the hill.
And that takes us to our winner, Adam Miles, taking win number 3 here for the season. Adam, we were watching from the start. Obviously, you got a little bit of a breakaway on lap 1, and I'm sure that helped a bunch. But there were times that it got as close as we saw, about 1.2 seconds. Were you at all worried that they would catch that slipstream?
Very worried, yeah. I got a reasonable gap. I think it was about at its biggest, maybe 1.8. But you know, Jose and Daniel are very quick drivers, and VIR is not the track where you want to be running without a draft. I knew 2 big straights, they would be swapping backwards and forwards for all they were worth. So I just had to do the maximum I could in the infield section to just try and build whatever gap I could, so that when they picked up 2 or 3 tenths every straight, I had something in hand to try and react to them.
Now, you're the only driver who has managed more than one victory so far here on the broadcast races, but you weren't coming into this race as the points leader, partly because of last week's trauma. Is that something where it's forcing you to not take anything for granted this season?
No, I mean, those things do happen. I wasn't happy about what happened. I've looked back at it, but it's one of those things. So, I don't go into races trying to protect my iRating or protect anything. I've just got to drive at the front. I did everything I needed to do in qualifying today, and by virtue of qualifying, I got the break early on. So, just got to keep doing what I'm doing, and not let what the others are doing bother me too much.
Never less than your best. I like that approach. Well, it's worked out, giving you win number 3. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That was Adam Miles, victor here today. The margin was 4.7 seconds, but as you heard him, it was mostly within under 2 seconds the entire race. Well, that is going to wrap us up for today. And of course, a big thank you to the Skip Barber community for bringing us back for another season of coverage here on GSRC. We will be back next week once again, and it is at another Slipstream track, as they are going to be going to Phillip Island. That'll be January 29th at 1:15 p.m. Eastern. And of course, we also have other races on the channel. And up next is going to be the Grand Prix Legends doing an oval race in the Lotus 49. That will be at Motegi. You cannot miss that one. Those are always wild to watch. Thanks to the team today, Stephen, Christian, and Dougie. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a moment. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.
This is iRacing.